Great. So today we're going to see why using Jira causes you to lose one day every week, and how, by comparison, ClickUp saves you one day every week. From a 10 people small business to a 100,000 people enterprise, every company wants to generate value. There are four types of value: customer value, often being evaluated through the user retention; market value, through the reach; commercial value, through the profit; and future value, through the innovation. But without efficiency value that can be related to time to market, cost reduction, and waste elimination, you can't generate all these types of value. So it's very important to make sure to improve this efficiency value. Actually, tools can help by driving this efficiency value. When they're well designed, they can help improve collaboration and communication by providing spaces for discussion. They can also help structure the work, break it down, and streamline processes through automations. They also provide dashboards and reporting to track results through metrics. And they tend to act as a unified source of truth, where all the information can be found. And they do all this in order to save time, save money, and support the vision of the company. Yet, as you might have experienced it in multiple companies, the reality is that bad tools can harm efficiency by wasting your time through endless administration that can be very cumbersome. They can cost you a lot of money through a pricey business model. They often force you to adopt their prescriptive methods, which leads to reshape your vision to adapt to the tool instead of the opposite way. And finally, they can disperse information through the required use of multiple tools that are not always very integrated. Actually, that's the experience I had when administering Jira for 1.5 years at my previous experience at Ubisoft. So, if you were a Jira user like me, you may have experienced a tool that took hours to set up simple things with lots of unnecessary steps, like setting up screens with additional screen schemes and issue type screen schemes for each issue type. You may also have experienced a tool with a business model based only on pricey paid plugins, so that if you just needed a simple calendar, you must have paid up to $60,000 per year, which, as you will see, will be a recurring topic of this webinar. You may also have experienced a tool that told you how you need to work instead of giving you the flexibility to apply your management vision, where some community leaders would tell you why you shouldn't be able to do what you want in every thread of the Atlassian forum. Something like subtasks can't contain further layers, that's it. When actually what you just wanted to do was a basic work breakdown structure. And finally, you have experienced an ecosystem that forces you to jump between multiple tools to find information. In Confluence for wikis, in Service Desk for requests, and Jira Align for portfolio management. So it's really to answer all these issues that ClickUp was built by our founder, Zeb Evans. And today, through 3 use cases, we'll see how ClickUp can help you increase efficiency compared to Jira by its ease of use, fast setup, and powerful features. We'll start with a simple Scrum example that we will build from scratch together, then see more advanced use cases with a pre-built demo of an advanced agile system, and we will end with an HR applicant tracking system to understand how ClickUp can adapt to any kind of teams within your organization. So let's get started, and let's start simple with the Scrum example. For those of you who might not be aware of what Scrum is a framework that enables teams to adopt an iterative lifecycle that is very suitable to empiric work like software development. In order to build the system, we need to create a product backlog that is here, and that holds all the work items to be done. Then we will need to break down those work items from the epic level down to the task level and prioritize them to know what we want to work on next. Then we will pull the highest priority items from that product backlog and push them into a sprint which will be a 2-week iteration cycle. And as you can see, meetings like sprint planning, sprint review, daily scrum, and sprint retrospective will be very important because they structure this cycle and enable constant realignment of the team. So now let's replicate that into ClickUp and compare it with how Jira manages Scrum. And let's get into ClickUp directly. Awesome. So the first thing that you need to see is the sidebar here with all of my spaces. As you can see, we created a blank space to represent our Scrum project. So let's start by adding a list that will contain the work to be done that we can name work items. So let's call it work items, just like that. Now we can start adding all our items directly from here. And that's the first step that actually takes most of your precious time in Jira, because you must add each item one by one. In ClickUp, the good news is that you can create items by copy-pasting bullet points of text or a column from an Excel sheet. So we can write all our user stories as text into our personal notepad, just like that. So user stories, and you can see the full list here. So now let's copy them, just like that. And now we can paste them in line to automatically add all of the stories. Perfect, so now we have everything. Then the next step is editing the properties of those items. This editing can be done inline instead of having to open each item separately. So directly from here, we can add an assignee, a due date, and maybe a priority. So directly from here. Or even better, we can bulk edit the items to go faster with the quick selection and the multitask toolbar that you are seeing above here. That enables us to apply the same property to multiple items in just a few clicks. So let's try to do that and set all the tasks as assigned to me. As you can see, it works directly like that. So it's really great because you can go way faster than the tedious 4-screen bulk editing process that you might encounter in Jira. So now that we've understood how the edit system works, we can expand it by adding more custom properties that we can also call custom fields. In Scrum, one of the main needs is prioritization that can be achieved through a simple Moscow analysis. So let's add a drop-down custom field to represent it. So we click on this plus button here, we choose a drop-down, for example, and we name it Moscow analysis. And now we can add some elements. So must have, should have, could have, and would have. So we've added some options like that. We can also add a few colors to differentiate them. So let's do it very quickly, just like that. And actually, that's it. You created a new custom field inside of ClickUp. No need to go through a long process of creating a field like in Jira, where you would need to map that field to field configuration, which would also need to be mapped to a field configuration scheme. So lots of schemes, as you can see in configuration. So the good thing with the Moscow field is that we can now group the list of items by it to instantly differentiate the must-haves, the should-haves, and the could-haves. So let's just add some of them here very quickly, like that. So we've added a few options. And now we can select the group by option by custom field and select the Moscow analysis. And now you can see must have, should have, could have, and would have. Some things that would be impossible in Jira. Also, if you want to quickly add a filter to only see a specific subset of the items, you can add quick filtering from here, Moscow analysis is, and you can say must have. So in this way, you only see your must have items. But as you might have experienced in companies, needs always evolve. So you need to have full flexibility to change the fields you create and rename them if necessary. So let's rename Moscow analysis to business value, for example. So I will put business value like that. And I will change the options to maybe high, medium, low, and very low. So this is something that could happen in your company, like changing a field and wanting to keep the same data. And as you can see, nothing changed. So nothing very impressive, you might say. But actually, both the grouping and the filtering have remained the same. And if you had done exactly that inside of Jira, it would have broken all your JQL filters, as well as the boards and the dashboards that use those filters, because the fields in the JQL filters are just considered as text and not as true options in that system. So really in ClickUp, you have full flexibility compared to that. So now that the items have been added and the fields set up, we might want to see them in a more visual way that would represent their process. So you can add a board view directly from here and move those items through the different statuses by drag and drop. So I can move it like that in progress. If it's true that this view is also available in Jira, in ClickUp, we enable you to have the same powerful grouping and filtering capabilities as in any other views. So if you want, let's say, to visualize this by business value instead of statuses, you can group them directly like that and have all the visualization. So very, very interesting way of using the boards. Let's now open one of those user stories to add more details inside of it. One of the recommended approach is to have a defined format, like the story A4 format, so that you can get consistency throughout the company and alleviate user errors. In order to achieve that, we can copy the formatted text we have in our notepad that I created here. So story A4 format. And now I take all of this that I can copy paste directly here. And as you can see, the thing that is very interesting is that you can even add code blocks that might be very useful for your Gherkin acceptance test, for example. Okay, great. So now we have a description. And the next step will be to break down that user story into the specific tasks that are needed to complete it. So we can add them directly from here with the same copy-paste method we had shown previously. So let me show you here. I have a bunch of tasks that I created as text. As always, very quick, copy-paste, and I add them as sub-items of that user story. And last but not least, we need to define for that user story what we mean by done. So we have to add acceptance criteria to the user story, which can be achieved through checklists that you can add and that can be assigned to different people in the team. So same thing here. I can take my acceptance criteria like that, copy paste them, and add checklist items. So criteria 1, criteria 2, and complete them like that. Just note that those checklists are not available natively in Jira, for example. So you might not be able to have the same kind of acceptance criteria. Perfect. So now we have everything we need for a great user story. But the issue is that if we want to create the same for each user story we add, it will take forever. The good news is that ClickUp enables you to quickly create templates from everything in the app. So we can create a user story template. Let's do that just by clicking on the three little dots here, Template Center, and Save as Template. So template, we can name it User Story Template, for example, and import all of the data. Perfect. So now I created this new template. Let's wait a bit for it to appear. And normally it should be good. Okay. Now we can instantly create new user stories with all the information already pre-filled. Let's click on the task here, have template, and now create instantly from a template. And now we will be able to see the tasks. So the user story is right here. Let's say quick use. And now you can see that user story template has been created. And if I open it, we have all the information that have been added with all the tasks, all the criteria. So very, very powerful stuff. And just note that this is something that is completely impossible to do in Jira right now without paid plugins. Great, so the only thing that we need to finish preparing our work items is to add the epics that contain those user stories. In order to do that, we can take advantage of the several levels of nested sub-items that are available to build our hierarchy and nest the stories below our epics. So let's create our epics very quickly like that. So same stuff as before, copy paste. I'm gonna add them here, create 7 tasks. And now let's consider that I want this user story inside of the profiles. Now you can see that I have profiles, epic, the user story, and the task below, and I can even go like further down, 7 levels. So you have a full hierarchy that is available. The good stuff with that system is that it's also easier than ever to roll up progress by adding an automatic progress bar to see how each level is progressing. So let's just do that very quickly. You can click on the plus button and you can have the progress automatic bar that appears here. So let's call it progress. And now let's say that you want to finish this task, close it. You will see that now above it has updated and you have 5% of completion. So very interesting stuff here for your progress rollup. If you wanted to actually build this kind of nested hierarchy in Jira, you would have to buy a paid plugin called Structure. But what Structure lacks is visualization because it's only in this kind of list aspect. So we've added a mind map view to directly see the hierarchy in a very visual way, which can be shared with any stakeholders. So let's see, for example, the epic here, now the user story, and you can see and open the hierarchy in this way. So very powerful stuff that can also be used for OKRs, for example. Sweet, so now we have everything we need to get started. But wait, we almost forgot our meetings, which are very important steps of the Scrum process. So let's create a meetings list directly from here. So new list, and I will rename it meetings. And now let's put both our meetings and the work items into a backlog folder for better organization. So I can create a new folder that I will name backlog. And now I can create the folder like that and put my work items and my meetings directly here. So great, now we can see work items and also the meetings below that I will create in just a bit. So for those meetings, we have 4 types that exist, like we've seen. So sprint planning, daily scrum, sprint review, and sprint retrospective. So let's just copy paste them here and create them. Cool, so each of them has a specific recurrence pattern and they happen every sprint. So it would be very tedious to have to create new meetings every time for sure. So it's to help with that kind of use case that we introduced recurring dates that give you the ability to set a recurrence pattern. So I can open the due date like that. And then I can set recurring in this way. And then the recurrence pattern tell you if you want like to automatically reopen the item periodically or create a new item according to the need. So let's say, for example, custom, every 2 weeks on the Monday, I will have a new sprint planning meeting. So I can create it in this way. Then you need to assign this meeting to all the attendees. So we can add multiple assignees, which is something also very interesting and that doesn't exist in Jira. Or you can directly assign it to teams. So it's much faster even if you want to assign it to 5 people at once. And now the best way to visualize meetings is in a calendar view, just like this. So I click on calendar and now I can see my sprint planning and I can see also the recurring events that have been added here. So all the elements I just mentioned, from recurring dates to multiple assignees and calendar view, are not available in Jira without purchasing paid plugins, which means that in the current state, it's not possible to have meetings directly in the tool. But best of all, if you want to keep your meetings in Google Calendar, you're able to get a two-way sync of your events just like that in the ClickUp calendar so that you can keep everything in one place. Just note that this feature is also coming very soon to Outlook. So hopefully that will be soon. Awesome, so we finished preparing our backlog with the items we needed, and we can now add sprints by creating a folder dedicated to them. So let's create a folder, new sprint folder. So we'll go a bit quickly about the settings for now, and I can create 5 of them just to demonstrate it. Perfect, so now we have our 5 sprints. So right now we have 2 approaches that we can take. Either we move the items directly into the sprint, or we can have the items be in 2 lists at the same time. This enables to keep them in your backlog while having them into your sprint and updating the same item from both locations, which provides you with a lot of flexibility. So let's just click from here and add a meeting. And now I can either move the tasks or add them to the list from my sprint folder. So sprint one, just like that. And now, as you will see, in sprint one, I will find these two items. And if I update it, put it in progress, for example, from here, I will be able to see it directly from here as well in the work items backlog. So very flexible way of structuring your work and consolidating information. But a sprint wouldn't make sense without goals that can be tracked through key results. Luckily, ClickUp has a built-in goals feature that enables to create goals and add targets to them in just a few clicks. So let's take a look, for example, at sprint one here. And as you can see, I can create key results that can then be linked to tasks, just like that. So add task. And now I can select, for example, profiles and put it here. So now I have those tasks that can appear directly from here. Awesome stuff. Yeah. So really, in Jira, the thing that you need to notice is that you don't have this kind of goal system with key results. So you would have to pay plugins again for this feature, for example. And since we're considering tracking results, actually, there's no better way to do it than through a dashboard with charts. So in order to see how that would look like once you add real data and work on sprints, we can go into that other dashboard here that has all the data inside. So we've already added some sprint widgets that are entirely customizable, and the layout as well is entirely resizable. So very flexible way of doing dashboards. And those include, for example, for sprints, burn down, burn up charts, pie and line charts, and some more advanced ones like velocity chart, cycle time, lead time, and even cumulative flow. So just before we wrap up the Scrum project example, what if we needed now to create another similar Scrum project? In Jira, you would have to buy the Deep Clone plugin. But in ClickUp, you can quickly right-click on the space and duplicate it. So very easy way of doing it. Or even better, you can save the project as a template that you will be able to reuse anytime with all of its data. So yeah, very great way and fast way of setting up a Scrum project. So let's recap what we saw in the Scrum demo. We saw that in a matter of a few minutes, it was possible to build from scratch a Scrum system with a prioritized backlog, including a nested hierarchy, recurring meetings that can be synced with external providers, and sprints that can be associated to goals and dashboards, all of which we built in less than 15 minutes actually, and that we templatize for future reuse. If you wanted to do the exact same in Jira, it would have cost you up to $243,590 per year. And even then, 8 features would have been unavailable entirely. So now you can start grasping the value of ClickUp. Yet we've just scratched the surface of ClickUp's power, since there's so much more to consider in agile management. Because actually, beyond functional requirements that are considered in Scrum, there are lots of different elements to take into account. Work items, of course, like bugs, test suites, ideas, and experiments, but also non-work items like risks, stakeholders, vacations, and expenses, all of which are required for comprehensive project management. So let's dive into the full Agile demo, where we're going to tackle how to reproduce the issue type system from Jira inside of ClickUp and discover how powerful the platform can be. So let's go back here and put it back in full screen. Awesome, and we're gonna get into this Agile management demo here. Perfect. So let's start by looking at a more advanced product backlog that hosts all the epics and stories. In the previous example, we defined the priority using the simple Moscow analysis. So must have, should have, could have, would have, using the drop-down custom field. But when faced with hundreds of new features, that approach alone is not scalable because we need to know in the same group what to do next more precisely, which can be achieved through quantitative approach. So let's go a bit more like that. Great. So one example is the WSJF calculation that compares the cost of delay to the total effort, both of which are being calculated through intermediary values like user value, time criticality, risk reduction, or even backend effort. This can be easily achieved through the addition of formula custom fields, which work exactly like in Excel. So as you can see, it's exactly the same function. So if you're familiar with Excel, it's very easy. So no complex scripts or plugins needed like in Jira. Everyone can do it themselves. Great. The cost aspect is also essential to every project management. So we may need to define the monetary value by comparing the expected revenue to the cost to know if it's worth developing. And for that, we can calculate the present value here. Present value, that is very interesting. And after the feature has been released, for example, we can calculate the return on investment, or ROI, based on the actual revenue and the actual cost. So something that is very important to understand is that all this cost aspect is currently not supported in Jira, since you don't have formulas nor calculations to sum up the numbers like I'm showing here. So with all this information about prioritization in mind, we can now build our high-level product roadmap using the timeline view, which is here. And as you can see here, it keeps the planning very flexible for Agile and enables grouping compared to the standard Gantt chart available in Jira. So it's a very neat feature that is more suitable, I would say, than just a simple Gantt chart that we also have here. Let's see, in the Gantt. Yeah, so you have either Gantt or timeline views that you can use for your scheduling. But like we mentioned in the introduction to this demo, what if we need to track multiple types of items, not just epics and stories? And maybe each of those items could have a different workflow and different properties. Well, actually, that's where the flexibility of ClickUp's hierarchy shines, because we can use each list as a different item type by customizing the statuses and the custom fields in just a few clicks. So let's just click very quickly into the risks now. We can see that instead of just a to-do, in progress, or done workflow, we now have to evaluate under evaluation, in resolution, unsolvable, and solved. And this can be set up very quickly with that little model here. We can also see that the fields are not the same. This time we're calculating the severity based on the probability and the impact, which can also be done through an impact cost approach to get the expected monetary value, all of which, once again, couldn't be done without calculations and formulas. So here again, we can use the board view to better visualize the workflow, but maybe you want to manage the work in progress so that you can identify bottlenecks and tackle the items more quickly. We here support work in progress limits. So it's possible to do just that. And since we're always pushing for more flexibility, these can also be used with any numeric custom fields to see, for example, how much money you might risk losing by letting some of the risks without resolution. Now, the same kind of system can be used for any type of test management, including bugs, crashes, and errors that would be related to test suites and versions. An important part of test management is the intake process. So our goal was really to make it as streamlined as possible by enabling you to create your own forms that can be shared internally or even publicly. By dragging and dropping the fields, just like that, we can quickly create data-driven forms with all of the custom fields that are represented here. And if we want, you can even use some automations by clicking on this little robot icon. And here, active automations, we can see that it's possible to apply an action when a new request is filled in. So when a new task is created, I will define automatically that the item type will be a bug, and I will automatically apply a template that will be the bug template in that example. Also, to facilitate intake, we can benefit from the screenshot markup tool that exists in the ClickUp Chrome extension. So let's take a look at it here. So I have the ClickUp Chrome extension, screenshot, and now I can quickly take a screenshot like that of a bug, add some icons maybe to differentiate the elements. And now I can save this. So let's save it. Perfect. Okay. So now we can add it to our here. Oops. We just come back. I think I need to view the element for sure instead of editing. So now I can drag and drop it directly from here. Perfect. Or as you can see here, we can also have a clip recording link. And that clip recording feature that enables you to record videos and to copy the link directly inside of the form. So let's see here the little functions that we have, and we can quickly record the clip. Hello, my name is Vincent, for example. Stop the sharing, and now take that clip that we created, either create a new bug directly from it, or I can copy the link and paste it here. So now let's quickly fill that bug, just so that we have an example. Awesome, so we'll add all these dates and those numbers for our prioritization. And now we can press submit. And now you can see that the submission has been received. And if I go into my bug register, you will see now that we have an empty element that has been created, a new bug with the data that I've added. So now that we have created that bug directly here, there is something that is important, which is a full collaboration between the testers and the devs. Actually, this is very facilitated in ClickUp by the proofing feature that enables to add comments directly on images. So let's take a look here. I can add a comment and then start adding little bubbles like that. So, comment. These comments can be assigned to people to make them more actionable, just like that. And then you can even have threaded discussions. So I can add reply, and people can discuss about this comment directly from here. Just note that all of this, from the screenshot to the clip recording to the commenting and all the threaded discussions that I'm having with the actionable comments, are not natively inside of Jira. So since the beginning, we have been considering each bug as a separate entity, but actually these bugs are related to test suites. The good news is that ClickUp enables you to relate items to each other through powerful relationships, which can look up data to display it wherever you need. So let's start adding, for example, one test suite from here. You will see that I can add one directly and see its data from here. So it's much more than just a simple line of text, unlike Jira. And this approach can unlock a lot of opportunities for this kind of database approach that you might find also in some other tools. So with all the previous features in mind, actually ClickUp enables you to replace paid Jira plugins for your test management. So no more X-rays or test trails needed to do that. So like I said, this approach will provide you more depth to ClickUp, not just as a work management platform, but also as a database, which is very valuable when considering that there are so many more elements that actually impact the workload of a team and that are not directly related to product delivery. So it's not just about product risk tests, it's also about capacity management, improvement management, communication management, all of this stuff that needs also to be taken into account. So here, for example, it's particularly useful to consider vacations, sick leaves, or holidays that might disrupt our planning and that we can add to our calendar schedule like this, or even directly from Google, as always. The good thing is that these vacations will impact the workload and add up to the rest of the work items of a person, which can be visualized at the highest level of the hierarchy in a workload view that I'm showing here. So now, as you can see, if I open the elements for Alma, We can see the experiments that she has to do, and at the same time, the holidays and the vacations. So everything in one place. You can also quickly filter to only see yourself with the me mode, or you can use a profile sidebar to quickly filter by team or by people. So now if I only want to see Alma, I just click on that little button and now I only see her data. So very powerful for team management and true resource management. Some things that will once again require you to buy extra paid plugins in Jira. Moreover, another pillar of Agile is that individuals and interactions are more important than tools and processes. So for that, we may need to understand what the team status is. So let's go into improvement management and see team status. So here, as you can see, we're really drilling into the database approach, where you can see your different teams, in which phase of development they are. And you can see that you can add rating custom fields to see, for example, how the team is feeling over time. You can even use the system maybe for individual assessments. So really, the possibilities are here limitless. So we can really push the system very far and put every data in one place. That's the idea behind all of this. And as we previously did in the Scrum demo, we can now display all the items in multiple places at the same time to build those consolidated views to focus on for our sprints, for example. So now if I go into Q4 and I open one of my sprints, I will see my bugs, my communication, crashes, errors, epics, so everything in one place that I can track way more easily. So just before we wrap up the full Agile example, what if we needed now to display all that information inside of a company wiki? In Jira, you would have to buy a separate license for Confluence. But in ClickUp, the good news is that we also support docs and wikis. So if I go into the docs section here, click on all, I will see this example that we created based on a famous video game engine here, Unreal Editor. And you can see that you can create all of your pages very quickly with a full nested page hierarchy and rich text editing. So if I open now one of those pages, you can see that you can really have all of the data you need inside of this. And you can even see that, for example, one of your colleagues is actually looking at the same page at the same time and interacting with you in real time. Best of all, if you want, you can also embed the views we've seen directly inside of the doc so that it's completely integrated. So here we have an example of the workload that we can see directly inside of the doc, and that is entirely interactive so that you can update data in real time from here, or even as a list like that, where you can update the data. So fully integrated wiki system. Okay, perfect. Now, let's recap what we saw in the full Agile demo. We saw that behind its deceptively simple look, ClickUp is actually a powerhouse that enables you to do comprehensive project management with advanced formula-based prioritization, risk management, test management, resource management, and much more, while always remaining easy to use, fast to set up, and collaboration-oriented. If you wanted to do the same in Jira, it would have cost you up to $586,130 per year. And even then, 5 features would have been unavailable entirely. So now you can really understand the value of ClickUp. But as of now, we've been tackling 2 project management use cases. But a company is much more than just a product delivery team. And instead of imagining a company as an org chart structure with siloed teams, let's say, we should consider companies as complex adaptive systems where everyone is related to each other. And when we start to see organizations as networks and not just as silos, the database approach makes a lot of sense because it applies to a lot of business teams, like sales for their CRM, marketing for their creative assets and campaigns, and in our next use case, for HR applicant tracking that represent the people management side right here. So it's very important to have a tool that is flexible enough to adapt to any kind of system while being user-friendly. so that all teams can adopt it, which is generally not the case with Jira, that is very dev-centric, let's say. So now, let's see how ClickUp would work for a human resources team that needs to track job openings and their related applicants and offices. So let's go back here. And now I can click on my space, HR applicant tracking directly from here. And let's put this back into full screen. So since we now know that we can use ClickUp as a database, we can start adding international company offices in a dedicated list with all their information using custom fields. Plus, you can add a bit of automations with recurring dates to automatically display when an office is closed or open according to its time zone. You can also use a location custom field, and through that, these offices can be visualized on a world map view that I can show you right here, where directly visually you can see which offices internationally are opened or closed. So very powerful stuff that can also be used, let's say, for building management as well. So just note that there is no such thing as a map view that is available in any Jira plugin. So there is no way of doing the same thing in Jira for that example. Now, directly related to an office through relationships, we will have our job openings that can be categorized by teams like engineering, marketing, or other teams, and to which we can add all types of information using custom fields, just like that. The job openings can be requested by managers using the same kind of form we've created previously, so like creating a job opening request form. And all the data that will be filled in will automatically be added to the opening list. So as the same system at the bug one. Now, once we have prepared all the openings, we can then share them publicly on a public job board that is accessible by any applicant and that can be embedded on any website. So even your own website, as you can see, you can have the link here and share it with anyone. So when an applicant uses the job opening form to apply, it will then create an applicant record with all the data we need and the associated evaluation workflow that you can see here. So applicant listing with all the data. And as you can see with the resume field, it's possible to add specific file custom fields to differentiate the types of attachments. And these files can be attached from Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Box without any additional plugin cost, unlike Jira. Just a quick tip from here, it's that if you have a phone number, you can actually click on it to directly call the applicants through your phone, so very handy. And also, very soon, we will make it possible for you to send and receive emails from Gmail, Outlook, or any email providers inside of those ClickUp items. And then it will enable you to turn those emails into assignments for your team. So this will be a really unique feature that is only available in ClickUp and that will be released very, very soon. So yeah, very interesting stuff. Also, in order to quickly identify the bottlenecks in your hiring process and help reduce non-value added time, we can also track the time spent in statuses using the time and status field that you can see here. So you can see how much time each task or element has spent into a specific status. And if we're not managers and we only want to see things in a visually pleasing way, the board view will provide us once again with a very visual and pleasing system that is very easy. So yeah, here, awesome stuff, and that works like a gallery more than just a simple board. So now the final step is to schedule meetings with the applicants. So for this, we can use the same events functionality we previously saw with our Scrum meetings. And that can greatly help because we can display the interview meetings from Google Calendar directly into ClickUp and synchronize both ways, which is very handy. So you can have this system right here, or you can use the Zoom integration that we have in any of the tasks here. So let's say I open it, you can start a Zoom meeting with that person if that's shared with them. And yeah, everything is integrated. Perfect. So let's recap what we saw in the HR tracking demo. We saw that ClickUp can act as a database, which enables you to build an entire no-code HR tracking app within the system, including office world mapping, job opening automated requests, and applicant interview processes that are fully integrated with your external tools, while always being very visual and adaptable to the skill level of the people using it. If you wanted to do the same in Jira, it would have cost you up to $132,420 per year worth of plugins. And even then, two features would have been unavailable. All of this for sure without counting all the previous features that were already listed in the previous use cases. So now you can see the potential expansion of ClickUp as an organization-wide tool, not just as a dev-centric tool. So as we come to the end of our 3 use cases, let's recap everything. If you wanted to do the same presentation in Jira, it would have cost you up to $962,150 per year, and 15 features would have been unavailable. And still, we didn't take a look at all the features that exist in ClickUp. So your wallet will love us. Even more important for you to remember from that presentation is that ClickUp's mission is to make the world more productive. Because as you've seen, we free you from tool constraints. We help you increase stakeholder collaboration. We drive adoption across multiple teams, all of which to enable you to reach this true business agility. Best of all, we're building this tool with you. So when you ask for new features, improvements, or bug fixes through our public feedback board, we listen to you. And now a little surprise is that one of the most requested features over the past weeks was to be able to add properties to spaces, folders, and lists with their own statuses, own custom fields, and own rollups. So we're currently developing the location info feature, which will provide you with everything you need to do full portfolio and program management. So something like SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework, coming very soon with that system. Or you can even track clients and organizational departments. Also, as you might have noticed in the sidebar here, in the later future, you might be able also to have some subfolders. So very interesting stuff coming in the near future for ClickUp. So the result from this presentation is that actually ClickUp improves efficiency by saving you time through easy administration that takes less than 30 minutes. ClickUp saves you a lot of money through new free features every week. ClickUp adapts to your way of working through an unopinionated and flexible no-code approach. And finally, ClickUp unifies information in one place through this one app to replace them all model that we're carrying. So now I just have to invite you all to join the future of work and to start a free trial of ClickUp today. So as a source of inspiration, the full Agile template is right now publicly available for you in the Template Center. And I also recommend you reading the Webflow use case on our website, which explains how one of the leaders of the no-code market transitioned successfully from Jira to ClickUp. Thank you. And we can now get to the questions. Perfect. So let's take this to the screen to visualize those questions. Is there a way to get the comments and action history on tickets when you import from Jira? So far, I haven't been able to manage to get everything over. So that's actually a good point. Right now, we're working a lot on improving our Jira importer so that you can import everything. But in the meantime, we have also another solution that I can provide you, which is the Unito integration that we rolled out very recently with Unito. So here we have a ClickUp Jira two-way sync integration that enables you to bring all of your comments, all of your activity, and also link all the data together. So you can map your fields directly like that. So all of your custom fields with the full system. So that's a good way of doing it. Also, about this this presentation available later. Yes, so this presentation will be fully available for replay on our website. So you can type ClickUp webinar, and now you can see here all of our webinars that are coming soon. So the next one, for example, ClickUp for budgeting and to automate or not to automate. And it will be also available on YouTube for replay. Awesome. So do we have any other questions that you wanted to dive in? Okay. So I think we're all good. So I hope you enjoyed this webinar. And if you have any things that you need, don't hesitate to ask us through the help@clickup.com email so that our customer support reps will be able to answer you. And you can also reach out to us directly through our forms on our website. Oh, so I'm seeing just that we have 2 new questions. Can we integrate ClickUp with our ERP application? For example, to automatically create ClickUp tasks based on invoices from financial app. So that's a good question. We have native integrations that are available in ClickUp automatically. So you can see if we already integrate with that from here. Integrations from the website. We have these native integrations, and as you can see, we also have an API. So let's say that you have like something that is not very used or that is not available into Zapier or Integromat as an ERP. You can have the full API system here that is very easy to use, where you can take all the data and synchronize your ERP application with ClickUp. Where can we find the Agile template? I don't see it on ClickUp. Okay, perfect. So on this one, here you have this little arrow and you have the template center that is available. So now you can click on the template center and you will be able to find the community ones. So all the ones that were created either by the community or by ClickUp. And I think that this one, Agile Management, is the one that I just presented with the epics, the risks, for example. So just something to note, they only include one item of each issue type, for example, because we wanted to make it easy for you to use and start working on this. So yeah, you can use this template directly from there. Very interesting. Thank you very much. Yeah, very happy with that. That it could be helpful, and there are more news coming soon for new features as well. Can I make the custom forms available via my own company domain? Yes. So actually, we have a white labeling feature. This white labeling feature is enabled at the settings level when you're an admin of a workspace. So here, for example, I have my workspace settings, white label, and you can see that you can create a custom URL domain. So you can say, for example, mycompany.clickup.com. And then when you will share the forms, they will keep that, that element. Perfect. So you can still wait for a few questions if you might have. Is there a workflow management feature coming up? Only a specific user can move tasks to another status, or status X can only be moved to Y. So this is a good question. For our custom field management, we have a new custom field manager that is coming, I think just in a few months, I would say. So sooner than later on this one, because it's really interesting. So this updated custom field manager will include the fact that you can restrict access to specific custom fields or statuses. So you will have status manager and you will have custom field manager. So I think that will answer your use case. Or if you want something more, let's say, restrictive directly like that, you can use an automation. So you have an automation here, and let's say that you want automatically, let's see, you can create an automation, and you can say when the status changes from 1 to maybe first interview, then you will change the assignee, and maybe add a comment to tell that assignee that he needs to review that. So let's say, please review this interview before we move on, for example, like that. And then you can assign this to Alma and change the assignee so that Alma is now the new assignee of that element. So this is the way that I would recommend it doing it for now. And you will have the status manager and the custom field manager that will also enable you to handle that in the future. Thank you. The presentation was great. Perfect. Happy it could help. This will allow ClickUp to become an ISTM. Amazing. Yeah, that's a very good point, for sure. Instead of having tons of statuses would be awesome. Sure. Yeah, the custom field manager across the workspace. This one is coming with it, so it will be included and will really help to handle this. So we still have 3 minutes. So if you have more questions, perfect. We can continue. It would be cool if we can copy values of fields between tasks and subtasks in automation. Oh, that's very good point. So actually we have this in our feature feedback. So I'm going to show it to you where we can see our Canny feature feedback. So please, for this one, I think it will be interesting to post it into here. And then we will take it into account so that we can add it soon because it makes a lot of sense to copy the items. Just as a workaround for now, I would say that maybe you can add an automation to copy the values, or you can also use a template. So you can use a template like I showed to copy all the values to your subtask. But I think it's a great idea. So let's add it to here. Is there a migration path from Confluence to ClickUp Docs? Also, what about Jira Service Desk allows for controlled external client access to production documentation and creation of support requests? So there are two questions here. Let's start with the Confluence import approach. So in our dashboards right now, if I go into my docs, here, you have the ability for each page to import. So you can say, I want to import here as HTML or Markdown. So actually it's possible for you to export your pages from Confluence and directly import them as HTML and Markdown. In the very near future, we'll make it even faster and easier to do by importing all of your wiki at once. So this is coming soon. This is a new feature that is a Confluence importer. But for now, I would recommend to use the import through HTML and Markdown like that. For Jira Service Desk, so we've seen that you can create a form that can be made public so that people can use it. And actually, these forms can be embedded into a doc. So let's say that you want to have this kind of production documentation, external client access. Actually, you can share that doc publicly. Oops, let me come back up. You can share that doc publicly, and that doc will have the embedded forms inside of it. So you can say, let's say you can create multiple support forms inside of one doc and share it. So that would be a way of doing it for now. And we're still expanding on those help desk features. How do you calculate the ClickUp price at the end of 200 users for $1,000? Or did I see it wrong? Yeah, so for this one, this is based on the billing per user per month. So we have here full ClickUp pricing that you can check. So since we don't have any plugins, it just raises linearly. So you can see the pricing per month annually, and we have an enterprise plan that is always being taken into account for this. Will automations assigned to folder or space automatically be assigned to sub-level list? I can seem to be able to get it to work. That would save a lot of time for sprint lists. Yes, actually that's possible. So if I'm going here back to my example of my spaces, you can see that you can create either an automation at the applicant level or directly at the folder level or at the space level. So now if I want an automation to work for everywhere for inside of that space, I can add an automation from here and it will apply to all of this HR applicant tracking space. So you can do it this way for your sprints folder if you want. So I really hope that all of these answers helps clarify the points about ClickUp and how much storage do you offer? This one. So I think that the storage is unlimited based on the plan. So if you go, let's say, with an enterprise plan, you have unlimited storage, and it's just that you can have the free plan is limited to 100 megabytes. So that's something to take into account. But then once you go into the unlimited business or enterprise, you don't have this 100 megabyte storage limit. Can this integrate with Zendesk? Yes, we have a native integration with Zendesk that you can find here. So Zendesk, that is right here. So I invite you to check this sooner than later. Perfect. So thanks everyone. That's a wrap, and hopefully you can join us very soon for our next webinar, which will be ClickUp for budgeting. And you can still find this webinar as a replay on our YouTube channel and on our ClickUp webinar website. Thank you, everyone.